Hello everyone, welcome to this very special edition of Biz Talk on CGTN, China Global Television Network. I'm your host, Zheng Junfeng. Today I'm not only a business news anchor, but also a ski fan. As a matter of fact, I've been skiing and snowboarding for 10 years, and my passion to this so-called white opium has taken me to various ski destinations in China and across the world. And I understand that for many of our audience, the idea of China being a ski country is rather a strange idea, but actually it's a matter of fact that China has fast become the world's biggest beginner ski market with tens of millions of skiers around the country and fast growing every year. And well, I'm just one of them. What made me a little bit different from them is that I took the liberty to even write a book about it called Ski in China, 滑雪在中国. It paints a picture of China's growing ski market. I wrote this book back in 2016, 1 year after China obtained that right to host the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. And now we're here just days ahead of the grand opening of that event. I'm very excited with hundreds of millions of people in China. And as a business news anchor, I think it's very necessary to assess the economics of this big event, the influence of the Beijing Olympic Games, and the 300 million people getting involved with ice and snow sports. And for that context, I'm honored to be joined by 4 guests here in a very cozy environment. Sitting next to me is William Yang, Bogner China CEO, and we have taken the liberty of using his shop in central Beijing. And next here is Justin Downs, a specialist in ski and relevant industry. He's the president of Access Leisure Management. Welcome. You've been in China for many years, right?
15, yes.
15 years. And next to Justin is Jackie Chen, President Assistant and also International Business Director of Taiwu Ski Resort. Taiwu Ski Resort is very close to the Olympic venue in Chongli, and is also very responsible for receiving hundreds of guests and technicians for the Olympic Games. And Mark Dreyer used to be an old colleague of me and at the CCTV, and he is now an author of a new book called Sporting Superpower, and has been an independent watcher of China's sports industry. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
My first question for you is that what have you been busy doing, Justin, from you?
Well, I mean, the industry as a whole has been growing for a long time, since I first came here in 2007. So the foot has not come off the accelerator over the past 15 years, but obviously things have sped up since the games were announced in 2015. The entire industry has exploded, both from new resort development to new participation in sport, new brands coming into the country. The whole ecosystem of the industry has just really sped up in quite an astronomical way. So, you know, we've been managing a lot of that and working with our clients. Taiwu is a long-term partner and client of ours that we have been helping them over the years, working with brands around the country to help to fit into the Olympic Games, and working with the international community about, especially over these COVID years, who haven't been able to come, helping them to get organized for these games in 2 short weeks.
You mean you help these international teams to get prepared to compete in China?
Not the teams, the athletes per se, although indirectly we're working with the athletes. And the National Olympic Committees normally spend years in advance of getting their systems in place, where they're going to stay, what food they're going to eat, where they're going to buy their products, where they're going to do their hospitality, just all of the logistics. And normally they would come here and do it themselves. No one's been able to come here for the past couple of years, so we've taken on a lot of that for them. Yeah,
we'll talk about the influence of the pandemic later on in our talk. But Jackie, what have you been doing? I see you having phone calls all this morning, and you're busy. You may be getting to the closed loop later on.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, I'm getting into the closed loop maybe in 1 or 2 weeks' time. I was receiving phone calls all the way here today. So, yeah, actually, in the past 2 to 3 years, as just mentioned, we have also some collaborations with Justin Down, because we are receiving hundreds of guests from the Olympic Games.
The technicians, right?
It's more like a national Olympic committees, and also some sport supporting staff, and also broadcasters and media. And also, of course, as you mentioned, the technicians from the international federations.
And thousands of your hotel rooms
Yes.
being occupied.
Yeah, over 2,000 rooms will be offered to them, and now some of them are already poured in, into our resort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For people who do not know much about Taiwu, it's quite a big one with a ski town, right? A real ski town with
Yes.
lots of shops, restaurants, including a Bogner shop, one of
Yes.
the very first
Yeah.
in China.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And lots of restaurants, shops, and dining and entertainment places, and it's very close to Olympic gaming
Yeah.
venue.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you are very close to that train stop too,
Yeah,
right?
the Taizicheng high-speed train station.
Yeah.
It's just at our doorstep.
Right. We'll talk about these Olympic venues and infrastructure later on. And Mike, Mark, you just published your book, right? Tell us about that book.
Yeah, so it's Sporting Superpower, and I came here to China, but just about a month after Justin, so I'm in my 15th, end of 2007, so in the build-up to 2008. And really it's the journey that I've experienced from watching China's sports industry from those 2008 Olympics all the way to now, the ups and the downs. And, there's been a lot of progress along that time, but some bumps in the road as well. So I try to explore and examine what China's done right, what perhaps it could have done differently, and look kind of how things are set up for the future, through football and through winter sports and through lean art and tennis and all these different sectors. And I think it's just quite an interesting look, the way it all fits together. It's partly personal, but partly personal. There's quite a lot of interviews in there as well, and some analysis, some my thoughts. So it was fun to write. I think it's quite an entertaining read. If obviously I'm biased, but
I noticed that you published your book digitally. I found it on Amazon, and
well, it's a Green Olympics, as we all hear. So I was trying to fit into that theory. But there might be some hard copies coming later.
Yeah. And what about you, William?
Oh, it's pretty busy here. Okay, the opening the store, and eventually after this interview, I have to fly back to Shanghai to open the first brand store.
This store
Shanghai.
was opened just
Last month.
last month.
December 23rd. Okay, just opened. It's very rushed because we just established the joint venture with Boston Group, and it was announced to the market 7 weeks ago. But I started to build up the team. Okay, since last Q2, and to recruit the people, and also to prepare everything, importation, license, and all the store opening and the negotiation. Oh, it's a really special year. It just okay, but we are lucky. We opened the store before the Winter Olympic, so that's my goal. Okay, but definitely it's the first steps for us to get into China officially.
I'm very glad for you because I'm a big fan of Bogner. A long time ago, I've been buying Bogner stuff before you set up shop in China.
Yeah.
I bought them in Switzerland and America, and I can see that it's quite a long road for a global ski or luxury brand. You mentioned you use on your brand to enter China, and you were working with Boston, the biggest, right? What do you call it? The biggest,
the down jacket company, but it's also Boston is in the process of the transition to become the leading functional fashion group. So Bogner is one of the first brands that they want to work with the European brands. So they have because why the two B company, Boston, it's leading, starting from B, and also the Bogner starting from B. I think it's a kind of the Junfeng to start the core business for next 25 years in China.
Oh, 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years. It's not only for mainland China, but also for Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. It's Great China area. But with the COVID, okay, in 2020, that's all of everybody's explanation. So that's I think it's then okay. It's the corporation start a little bit late, but when I talk to my management team, it's never too late for China. Okay, and also the Winter Olympic is a kind of the starting of the ski and the winter sports in China, and it will help the consumer Chinese consumer to understand what ski it is. So that's I think it's right on time. Okay.
So Bogner China business is a joint venture, 50-50 joint venture between Boston and Bogner International, right?
Yeah.
Great. Great to know that both companies are committed in this market. My second question would be also for everyone to discuss the impacts of the or influence of the Winter Olympic Games on this industry. You can talk from your own perspective in your line of business. We start from you, Justin, since 2015. So have you gotten more busier, the business, in many aspects?
Well, sure. I mean, things are busy in a slightly different way. I think the priorities have shifted from just traditional, organic growth of the industry to a little bit more fast-paced.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, as my colleague changed battery for Justin, let's talk from Mark.
Well, yeah, I wanted to hear from these gentlemen on my right in terms of, they obviously had foreseen this growth coming, and they put the plans in place for Taiwu and other ski resorts long before the games were announced. From my point of view, I think China was perhaps a little bit surprised that it won the games so early. If we go back, China initially had a bid for the 2000 Summer Games.
Yeah.
It went to Sydney, and then it was a set-up, and then eventually got it in 2008. So I think when they first put in a bid for the 2022 Games, they were thinking, well, maybe we get 2026. That's about right. But then if you go into the history of the bid, a lot of the other cities sort of dropped out, and Beijing came to the front and thought, well, we can really win this. And so they went for it. And that really turbocharged the industry, perhaps sped up that progress quicker than people were expecting. And suddenly from 2015 to 2022, the government and everyone else is thinking, we have 7 years to really kind of make it happen and leverage this natural growth provided by the driver of the Winter Olympics here. So, you guys had already sort of foreseen this wave, I think, but I think it got sped up since the 2022 Games were awarded 7 years ago.
Yeah. Back to you very soon, Jackie. Taiwu was set up during that period, right?
Yes.
2015,
actually,
around 2015?
Yeah, our grand debut to the whole world, the Taiwan grand debut was at the end of 2015. Actually, back to that time, and we only have a few ski slopes, as Justin is most aware. We don't even have any restaurant or accommodation back to 2015. And that was in the same year, earlier in July, that it was announced that Beijing was awarded the Olympic Games of 2022, Winter Games. So it's really something, we are lucky to be there, because after these years, since the beginning to now, we have already opened for 6 years. Now in the 6 years, I'm also witness, and also witnessed by Justin, we really experienced tremendous changes and progress in the resort. So speaking of the resort, actually, we from there, in 2015, we only have slopes, only a few ski slopes, and now we have 10 hotels. Can you imagine that? I mean, ranging from 3
1 or 2 hotels newly built every season.
Yeah. One for each season.
Yeah.
Newly built and newly opened hotel, including ranging from 3-star to 5-star hotels. Now we have 10 of them, and all of them are now contracted with the organizing committee of Beijing 2022 as official hotels. Now we are offering more than 2,000 bedrooms, more than 5,000 beds. So all these rooms will be supplied to the Olympic guests. And also during this period, we have developed a lot of, we call it lifestyle soul. I mean, Taiwu, the idea is that Mr. Chi, from the very beginning, he wants to make it more like a destination resort, to be something like, Chamonix in France, or something close to Whistler Blackcomb, So it's really international. We have a lot of facilities developed and now all put into operation, including, after the whole day of exertion on the slopes or in the mountains, definitely you can enjoy a lot of things. Yeah. I mean, other things.
Après-ski,
après-ski lifestyle.
As I remember, Taiwu is the 3rd major ski resort opened in Chongli, right? After Wanlong and Genting.
Yes.
Then now there are 7, and maybe there will be 1 more, right?
Yeah.
Then
probably.
Yeah. So Justin, in your observation, Chongli has coming out of nowhere, a local potato growing town, to an international event hosting place with the biggest ski cluster in China, even in Asia, right?
It is phenomenal. I wish I had have taken more photos when I first started going there in 2008.
And documented. Yeah.
It's unrecognizable. I should have written a book. Anyway, maybe another time.
Still time.
Still time. Maybe after the games. But I do remember going up to Chongli in 2009 with one of the senior members of the IOC, in fact, who was largely responsible for bringing the games to Beijing in 2008. And it was back in 2009 through my relationship with Genting that we took the IOC up to Genting to Chongli to start to have a look. And on that day, it took us 6.5 hours to get to Chongli. And the IOC member said, "You have a snowball's chance in hell of having the Olympics here if this can't be fixed." And we said, "This is China. Anything can be fixed, right?" Yeah. So, testament to what we've discussed. Now you can drive on a perfect, great highway straight north in 90 minutes if you don't get stuck in Beijing traffic, or on a high-speed train in between 40 and 50 minutes. It is unbelievable what China has achieved. But that's infrastructure, and China's very good at that. But what really has changed is just the participation, or the love, the development of the culture of the sport. It took a while. It was not there for the longest time, but now we see so much passion from all generations of people getting involved in winter sport and skiing. And the Olympics really solidified that. It's shone a light on it, but the media's all over it. You can see everywhere you go, people are talking about winter sport. But now, because of COVID, I think it's also accelerated people's interest in having a happier, healthier, more balanced quality of life. And it's just been over these past 2 years that participation and obvious passion for the sport has really become obvious. And that's great for everybody.
William, you were working for Honor Sports during that period. Back in 2015, you were responsible for leading Solomon and Terex. And how has been the business in that? Because Honor Sports was sold to Chinese company Anta, right?
Yeah, Anta acquired Emma Sports Global, I think 2 years ago. Officially finalized in April 2019. And I think it's also one of the reasons that they and the consumers saw the opportunity of winter sports in China. And but I think it's the Emma Sports is it's a company with multi brands who offer different sports. Ski is only part of it. Trail running, the Wilson for tennis, etc. But back to 2014, 2015. At that time, it's the ski is you don't often see on your WeChat moment. At that time, it's the ski. It's a kind of the stranger words for most of the Chinese people. But now I think it's totally changed. You can see your friends in ski result probably every day on your WeChat moment. So that's, I think, it's totally changed. And also I think it will still change. And 2 weeks later, when the winter sports starts, and everybody sitting in the home during the Chinese New Year holiday, and they have nothing to do due to the COVID-19, so then they have to watch on the TV. So that's, I think, it's the real starting. And we just to do something for early preparation, and also to be ready before the Chinese consumer get to familiar with the ski and the winter sports. And also I think it's similar as the other sports participation. It's similar as marathon. You see before 2014, the marathon is a kind of the game for professional guys.
Yeah.
But now, it's very difficult to get a marathon quota.
Yeah.
So everywhere.
Taiwu races some marathon in the mountain, right?
Yeah. So the cross-country races we have been held for already several years, actually, together with Sanfu and other partners.
Running,
in the summer.
Yes, in the summertime.
And Mark, you watch the whole sports industry. Marathon is quite phenomenal in China. Almost every city has its marathon competition, right? Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I would sort of say we've seen, from post-Olympics, from post-2008, we've sort of seen three main waves of sporting growth. So the first one was in football, and this was a big policy to make China have the largest sports industry in the world. I think the first area was in soccer, then winter sports was the second, and then these mass participation sports, the marathon and running and fitness and cycling and so on, that kind of goes into the third wave. But winter sports right now is very much front and center, of course, with the Olympics just around the corner.
Yeah, the national leader had this slogan of getting 300 million involved in ice and snow sports. Do you think this target is near, or have we reached it? What's your assessment, Justin?
Well, if you listen to the announcements, they've already announced that it's been achieved. It's not unreasonable to think that, it'd be difficult to calculate actually how this number was derived.
That's the population of the entire United States,
yeah,
right?
but it's only a quarter of the population of China.
Yeah.
So it's not unrealistic that this number could be achieved, and it was never clearly defined actually what was going to be comprised of that number. But they've had 7 years since the announcement of the Games to build up the groundswell to get people involved. It doesn't necessarily mean perhaps that you have 350 million active winter sport participants today, but they might have gone to a winter sport event. They might have gone ice skating one day. They might have gone skiing. People have become actively aware of winter sport, and that was the initiative, and so therefore it was successful.
Yeah,
Just to jump in, for me, it's kind of more symbolic, as Justin said. There's so many different ways that you can calculate, but we are seeing that growth, and I think people sometimes get too fixed on those numbers. What is 300 million people doing? What exactly? But beyond that, we see so many resorts popping up, and infrastructure, and hockey rinks, and ski slopes. And people filling those as well. So that is, I think, that's what's exciting for me, rather than focusing on, do we have exactly 300 million people skiing down slopes? Well, no, but that doesn't matter. We're moving in the right direction at a fast pace, and we're still far from the end.
Yeah, because Taiwan may have something to say, as some of your guests may do not do skiing. They may come just to have a winter holiday, right?
Yeah.
Stay in nice hotel rooms, doing spas and some fun on the snow with those, those tires,
Yeah. Snow tubing.
Snow tubing, yeah. Tell us about all these guests, their demands, their behavior.
So, firstly, I would like to say, actually, you were talking about this 300 million people to be participating in the winter sport. Actually, I just read the news. I think 2 or 3 days before the report is already out. 346 million people. That's already. I mean, that's already a goal we achieved. But that, as Mark said, it's just the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. So Taiwan as a part, we really feel honored and to be privileged to contribute part to that figure. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, actually, we because I said our chairman, he has an international vision. So we have designed and master planned a lot of entertainment facilities and other facilities that for people to enjoy, to experience after either mountain biking on mountains or skiing or snowboarding on the slopes. So you can enjoy a lot of things there. I mean, in Taiwan Ski Resort, we have a brew house, crafted beer, with the master from US, and you can go to shop on our commercial street with a Bogner store there, first everyone. And we also have a lot of other outdoor and winter sport brands there, and you can have a spa. You can jump into the hot spring. We have a hot spring in 3 of our hotels now. So during the winter time, looking at the white snow there on mountains and sitting in the hot water, it's really a terrific experience.
I hear your winter camp for children being very popular, right?
Yes.
And you're planning to build a dedicated area for family?
Yes.
In the winter?
Obviously, you have been paying attention to us. Actually, in our 3rd phase development, actually that's just after the Games, after the Olympic Games. A few months later, we'll be starting to, we have already almost completed the master planning of the 3rd phase. So after the Games, we'll start to do the development of the 3rd phase. It's somewhere between the Eagle's Nest and the main hotel cluster. So we have a dedicated family zone for the family people to enjoy. It's not only just slopes, not just snow tubing. We will have a very big child snow play area, and also we will have water parks. So
friendly to the families.
Yeah, for families. That's what we actually Taiwan, as I said, it's we are trying to create a lifestyle. That's the soul of the Taiwan brand. So we want to have more people to join us to
I
enjoy
think
it.
that may explain that how they get the numbers over 300 million, because all the family members, getting to this winter vacations can be calculated, because they on purposely they went to these places to have fun. Yeah.
If I might add something, these types of destinations need to be sustainable. Now, sustainable is not necessarily just about the climate or environment or any of these types of things. And to do so, you need to develop product ranges, which Taiwu has done very well in some cases, in most cases better than any of the other resorts. Is that there are many different segments, different people with different budgets and different schedules and different capabilities want to come at different times to experience different things. And if you just focused on skiing alone, just sliding down the mountain on skis or snowboard, then you're really limiting your market. So it's really about, skiing can only theoretically be 8 hours a day for 4 months of the year. So what do you do for the rest of the time? They need to be multifaceted. And Chinese people, different parts of China, have no interest in skiing, but they would, and that's
To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, but the thing is, but they do have a fascination for the mountains or for mountain culture, or just to see snow.
Yeah.
Like the biggest market for Changbaishan is Guangdong province.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to see snow.
Just to see snow.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really about creating a variety of products at different price points that people can engage with the sport. And China has a fantastic open, like a massive capability to achieve a lot. So this 350 million number, when you first get into an Olympics, at any other country, most other countries, you're already at a mature, stable winter sport industry. China's coming from an almost zero starting point. And so it's just on the uprise as the Olympic intersects. It's not going to stop and stabilize there. It's going to continue, because there's still hundreds of millions of Chinese that have not engaged with it at all
With a
yet.
smooth trajectory upward.
Yeah.
I mean, William must have something to say on this, because Bogner may not just targeting hardcore skier group,
Of course.
which can be limited. You're also targeting a wider group of consumers, right?
Fully agree with what with Justin and Jack said. It's the ski is only main agenda of the ski result, also only main agenda of the most of the Chinese consumer. Also for the Bogner, of course, 90 years ago we start from the ski, but definitely we are not limited on the ski. We also offer the consumer lifestyle product, like what you see on the back. And also, I think we open a store in the city center of the Beijing. So then also we would like to introduce a kind of the new lifestyle to Chinese consumer. We call as a luxury. So because I think the brand, it's 2022 is the 90 years anniversary of the Bogner. It's also it's very special year for us, and together with the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic, I think it's full of the fortune. That we start here, and also I think it's why we provided the consumer a brand that they recognize by ski, but we offer the very wide product range for their daily life, and also we offer the product for the golf, for the city casual stuffs. So that's I think it's then as a lifestyle brand, then we can incorporate with the ski resort like Taiwu, and we built the corporation 4 years ago, and now it's
to open one in Changbaishan, maybe.
Maybe I think also we just opened one new store in Songhua Lake ski resort.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty new, but it's right on time. It's also I think this year I think it's with the closure of the Chongli, and most consumer we went to the Xinjiang and the northeast. So that's
Even plan to open a shop in Xinjiang?
maybe not. Maybe it's not. It's too far to manage it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So your brand is not only targeting the
Yeah.
dedicated hardcore skiers or snowboarders, but the wider, range of customers who like to have this concept of ski, wearing something that make them feel like I'm out of town. I belong to the white mountains, sort of thing. Yeah, great. So we're approaching half time of our show. For those audience who have just joined us, you are watching a very special edition of Biz Talk on CGTN, China Global Television Network. I'm Zheng Junfeng. Today we are talking about the economy of the Olympic Games because we are fast approaching the grand opening of that event. I'm honored to be joined by 4 guests today, introducing to you Bogner China CEO William Yang, Justin Downs, President of Access Leisure Management, Jackie Chen, President Assistant and International Business Director of Taiwu Ski Resort in Chongli, and Mark Jaya, a long-time independent watcher of China's sports industry and author of Sporting Superpower. We're here today to talk about the economics of the Olympic Games. The economics means that we have investment into an event and we get some outcome out of it. So there are a lot of people out there questioning the necessity of raising such a big international event with the background of the global pandemic and some economic uncertainty, supply chain short supplies and stuff. So people are questioning the necessity of it. On the first half of the show, we already talked about the impact, the influence, the positive influence of the Olympic Games on the regional economic developments. We talk about Chongli, thriving from a under poverty county to a international Olympic venue where you could already put a shop there, targeting high-end customers. We talk about the infrastructure, the government putting there a high-speed rail train that only shortened the travel distance from 6 hours a few years ago to about 1 hour, within 1 hour, to the doorstep of Taiwu, giving you a long-term growth perspective, putting Chongli as a backdoor, the backyard garden of 20 million Beijing people and many other people in North China. And as Mark also noticed that the Beijing Olympic Games is part of China's efforts of, push forward the growth of China's wider sports industry to grow people's wellness, to make their lifestyle more diversified and create more ways of consumption, right? So if I could summarize a little bit, but let's focusing on the other aspects of this ski industry or snow industry, because it's not an easy industry. It's not easy to make huge amount of money out of it. Like some other industry like IT or high tech or real estate, these industries where you can go public quickly and make yourself billionaires. Rather, in this industry, you have to carefully manage data to be profitable. Even if you do that, you may have to, answer to the natural weather conditions and stuff like that, and also the pandemic. So first, let's talk about the influence of the pandemic. It's quite, how can I say, double sword. On one hand, it really hampers ski resorts' ability to receive guests because everyone is skittish. They don't want to have trouble traveling out. But on the other side, domestic travelers do not go outside anymore, and domestic ski destinations became their only options in the winter, and sometimes the local destinations benefit. What's your story from Taiwu, Jackie?
Actually, as you said, it's really like a double-edged sword. So yes, the whole tourism industry, winter sport industry is part of it. We are heavily hit by the pandemic. That's for sure. We have lost our revenues, we lost our guests. But still, as you said, because people cannot go out of the country. Most of them, they cannot go out of the country to enjoy skiing or other entertainment, outdoor sports. So it's very strange, we may think that people are stuck at home, so they don't want to go, but actually for the past 2 years, because the pandemic has already lasted for 2 years, and we can see, for example,
3 ski seasons now.
The
3 ski seasons.
Yeah, 3 snow seasons already. But actually, I can cite an example. Last year we had a very grand MIDI music festival. Can you understand me how many? No, actually, it's the year before last year. It's 2020.
Okay.
It's the second year of the pandemic. We had a MIDI music festival in Taiwu Resort.
In winter?
In summer.
In the summer.
In summer. Yeah, we have discussed that we are a 4-season year-round operational resort. So we open.
Hugely popular?
Yeah, it's really popular.
How many people did you receive?
I think in 2 days around 50 to 60 visitors to that event.
1,000.
it's like an
50
explosion.
to 60,000.
Yes, visits to the resort in 2 days.
Then you didn't have enough room to
We don't. A lot of
Okay.
people, they have to, stay somewhere. Yeah, for the night.
So we see this huge demand out there,
Yes,
right?
yes. So it's really something, we've never imagined. Also because of, the improvement of the infrastructure. So our average occupancy rate of our hotel rooms increased from 20 to 30% during weekdays to almost 80% during weekdays, not weekends. You know that in China, most people go out, for holidays on weekdays, but on weekends. But on weekdays, now, even in summer or during the peak time of the winter season, we see 80% of occupancy rate in our hotel rooms.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I can see our prices hiked a lot too. Becoming a little bit unaffordable.
Maybe you can get a special deal.
Yeah. Justin, your perspective, because you watch both China and global events, you have friends overseas. How did global ski resorts do? How are they faring?
They're struggling. In fact, I think the Chinese resorts, if you were to kind of, maybe from a total revenue or total amount of visitors, China still lags behind. But the international resorts have been hit very hard. You look at Australia, basically has totally lost its international season for 2 years. Nothing.
Because they're dependent on international visitors.
And places like Melbourne, for example, were shut down. Their major markets couldn't travel. So heavily impacted.
Well, that's North America.
In North America, they're putting on a brave face. But if you look at Canada, or Whistler, for example, depends heavily on international travel. Yes, they are getting some international travel, but far less than it ever did.
You said they put on a brave face?
But they're putting on a brave face. They're trying to tell a positive story. They're publicly traded companies, right?
Okay.
So, but their key issue is staffing. So one part is they're dealing heavily by COVID, like most of Canada's, somebody has got COVID if you don't have it yourself. So you lose half of your workforce. You cannot deliver the product. So the amount of lifts in operation is reduced. The amount of trails that are groomed, the amount of ski instructors that are available, reduced. Coupled with the fact they also depend heavily on international workforce coming in to bolster the HR numbers during the season. So they're still trying to charge the prices that they would normally charge, but cannot offer the value for money. So they've been heavily hit by, with PR and all of these types of things, really just trying to keep alive until the next year. So while they might have had good snow, good conditions, and an interest by the customer base, it's really difficult under COVID conditions to perform.
Yeah. Well, how about China?
Well, China is not struggling with the same thing. Yes, there's been periods of time where Chongli, for example, has a little asterisk next to its name. If you go there, you can't come back to Beijing, or you can't go here to go there. Periods of time, they go away, but then people get a little bit uncertain about, they don't want to go somewhere and get stuck, so that takes a little while to stabilize. But what it's really done is it's made Chinese people discover parts of China they perhaps otherwise wouldn't have gone. So like we said before.
Xinjiang.
Well, Xinjiang and Jilin, for example. Like Jilin is having probably its best year ever. You cannot get
I have a Beidahu shop. Yeah.
Or Songhua Lake.
Songhua Lake. Songhua Lake, yeah.
So yes, there's no question, like people from Beijing now, okay, I can't go to Chongli. Even if I wanted to, I can't go. So I'm going to go somewhere else. And they're not just going to go once, they're actually going to go 3 or 4 times. That's really changed the way travel patterns have had. COVID has changed that. People's work schedules are more flexible. They're more inclined to take time off work and not forced, into the grind every single day for 8 hours a day. They're being more flexible with their time because they can be and they want to be. And they found places like Xinjiang, which are just gems in the rough that not many people have been to yet. A stunning scenery out there, great skiing. And now people are discovering it, and COVID has enabled that to happen. So it is double-edged sword, but it's positive, I think, for the Chinese industry.
Right. What about you? This pandemic is limiting guests to your shops, right?
Yes, and the big changes I cannot get about. Okay, I stay in China for more than 2 years. Okay, and also my Munich colleague, they are very eager to come to see this beautiful shop, but they cannot. because then everything is on the video conference, I think. And also, even when we see some samples, okay, we have to do, okay, can you show me, put close to the camera, I need to see the texture. Okay. But that's the reality today, but they bring a lot of difficulties to run our business. And also, it's, in China, the pandemic control is the best in the world, but most of our supply chain is in the Southeast and in the Europe. So they got the big hit on the supply chain side. So that's definitely our headquarters colleagues, they are their best to try to solve that, but definitely it's not easy to run the global business in a pandemic situation.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend who I were going to invite here today. He was responsible for one of the two biggest ski resort cluster, ski resort group in North America. You may know, there were only two. And he was responsible for the China business. He was representing one of those associations in North America, but he was laid off. I didn't know. I still called him, would you like to come? So I was already fired because the company said the pandemic, they couldn't attract Chinese tourists, at least for the recent years. So they may hire him back later on when the pandemic is totally under control globally, but we don't know when that will happen. So, it's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on what fellow guests have said, pre-pandemic, one of the big trends we were seeing was outbound travel, and combined with that from China, it was sport plus travel. So people were going sometimes to watch. They'd go to the World Cup or to Olympics overseas, or to go and watch a Premier League game, or to go to the Australian Open to watch some tennis. And then within that, of course, you're sports fans, so you're playing the games as well. So within the winter sports industry, as Justin alluded to, many of these resorts were depending on Chinese people, the higher end of the different price points. So all those higher end spenders from China have stayed here, and they've gone to some of the Chinese resorts, instead of perhaps in the past they would have gone to the Alps in Europe, or to the North American resorts as well. So all these resorts had Mandarin speaking instructors to cater to this huge demand for Chinese people going overseas and skiing at those resorts. And they've all wanted to maintain their skiing. Of course, they've had no options, and that's fine, because they've looked, as Justin said, explored other parts of China and found that there's some fantastic skiing to be had on their doorstep. And that's just been the reality of the last 2 years, and that will at least happen, I would have thought, for probably one more year, and who knows after that. It's probably too soon to predict.
But Justin, I presume that these foreign ski destinations would remain interested in attracting Chinese skiers, because the market is so big. And after the Olympic Games, after the Winter Olympic Games opened their eyes about China's ski market, because many people had no idea China has a ski market. China has ski slopes, and China has millions of ski fans who are capable of purchasing international quality, international price services, experience, and there's also products. They remain interested, right?
Of course. I mean, they would be stupid to ignore it. I mean, they're fighting fires on their own back doorstep right now, trying to just keep their domestic business going with all of the issues I just mentioned. But absolutely, it's still sitting on every marketing and sales plan around the world. It's just, what year do they start to activate the spending again?
So they're just buying time.
They're just buying time. And I think, look, there are some countries that are continuing to promote tourism, but mostly European countries, I suppose, because that's one of their core trade initiatives. And they know it will come back. People will still want to go to Switzerland or Italy or Austria or France, these types of places. But the independent resorts have to focus on marketing to the people on a minute-to-minute basis, not a 3-year later basis. And I think that's probably what you're referring to before.
I understand. And what about the precise and very detailed management of the industry? Because that's what you're good at, from designing from scratch to building, cost-effective building, and later on very detailed daily management. These are essential in making this business viable, right? I mean, still we see a lot of ski resorts are running at deficits, and there were ski brands, apparel brands struggling. So there are some mergers and buying this and buying that. So tell us about all these details, because as far as I know, I talked to some owners of ski resorts. Earlier I talked to Luo Li of Wanlong. He's been investing millions, billions into his resort. He's still making a loss. Maybe he made some small profits one year, then was hit by the pandemic and back to beginning. Then I talked to Mr. Lin Qihua of Genting Ski Resort, and he said he already invested $900 million into Genting so far, and he hasn't taken $1 out yet. So it's pure investment and a lot of debt, a lot of interest on those debts. Some ski apparel brands are also struggling. So tell us about this. Would you tell us a little bit about this with your observation?
Well, I mean, China operates differently in many industries than in other countries. Certainly in the resort development industry or the real estate industry, you would not have seen such explosive growth of investment by an individual developer. You know, you look at any other ski resort around the world, like if you look at Taiwu for a perfect example, to see what Taiwu has built in the past 5 or 6 years would have taken in any other country probably 20 or 30 years. And it would have had multiple developers within an area. So the developers here have taken a big bet. And I think it's a good bet, but it's all about patience. You cannot expect to have an immediate return. And these resorts have been hit by financial crises or by pandemics or other issues. So these things you don't foresee. So the economy and the global situation has not been kind to the developers here. But I do believe that their patience will pay off, and it's really just about riding out this next couple of years and things will stabilize. It is hugely capital intensive, and no one in any other country would have taken on what a Chinese developer would have done. And it's a game of numbers here. And we're seeing those numbers starting to come through. Unfortunately not in Chongli this year, but that definitely will, I think the pent-up demand for people to go to Chongli next summer and next winter for sure, it'll be off the charts. They won't know what to do with the money. It'd be like a machine, they're just printing it.
So they're betting on the future.
You have to bet on the future. I mean, it's short-sighted to have a short-term view on this industry. Unfortunately, you just have to spend a lot at the outset to get some back.
It's interesting. I visited Aspen Snowmass in Colorado.
Yeah, it's more than 50 years old.
Yeah, it's more than 50 years old, and last time I checked, it has a massive plan to develop in facilities underneath Aspen Snowmass. They have a village there. After a long-term board discussion, maybe 10 years board discussion, they decided to further develop the village, and maybe build a slew of new hotels there after so many years. So it's quite amazing. I mean, I can't imagine after 50 years of development in Chongli, they're still building it. I mean, it's like a lifetime away. What about, tell us more detailed development stories, because the first news I heard about Taiwu is that he successfully secured quite a big bank loan to start his building back in 2014, 2015. So people in the industry knew that we're going to have a gigantic player in the industry, a third ski resort in Chongli to compete with others seriously. And until this day, you're still building new hotels and facilities and new ski areas and slopes. What's the cash flow and balance sheet like?
Okay, I have to be honest, because as Justin, he's most familiar with Taiwu and the resort, actually. As he said, we have never we have never stopped struggling, that's for sure. I mean, it's not only Taiwu, but all the rest of the ski resorts in Chongli region, or even in overall China. So for us, now what we have to do is to have a long-term vision. That's what Mr. Chi has designed from the very beginning. So our development plan is more like to be split into at least 3 big phases, expanding. I mean, for 15 or 20 years. Now we just finished the first step. So now we have to make it sustainable. Of course, I mean, at the first phase, we have to use the cash flow from the real estate sales to make up the losses. But of course, we as you said, like Wanlong, we are making money. I mean, from the very beginning for the operations part. But we have to use that money to come back for the constructions and next phase development. That's true.
Quite common practice globally, right?
Of course, yeah.
Selling real estate to compensate the loss on the ski slopes.
Yeah, it should be a methodical process. You have to build something and show people why they should come here and invest their time and their money to come back. So you have to spend money on the key infrastructure like the ski slopes or the lifts or some other entertainment, so a brew house or something.
Yeah.
Show people an experience. Then they want to come back. They'll bring their friends. You build some events and some festivals and sports competitions. Then that operational revenue will allow the developer to put some money into the real estate side. That they will then sell and then reinvest back into the operation side.
Yes.
So then you just keep on growing the pool.
And at some point, the operational margin
Starts
would
to
break even. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just want to add is that because our vision is to have a sustainable development and operations. So now that's why we have built a lot of infrastructures, and we want to make it a community, a real community. As I have mentioned before, I mean, between our conversations, we already have permanent residents in our resort because we have those very premium service departments sold to a lot of private owners. And because of it's strange, because of the COVID-19, people can work with very big, flexibility. So they can stay there, work remotely. They can, the CEOs, presidents, they can, just give commands to their staff remotely from Taiwan. So we can see a lot of people there already start to stay in there.
That's the ultimate goal. Of,
yeah.
Right?
You're building a real community.
Yes.
Not just a place where people come for a weekend. Yeah.
So it's sustainable and a lifestyle community, right? That's what some North American and European destinations have already done, like Davos, like Aspen, like
100%. But
Whistler.
But to do that, you also need to have the infrastructure like supermarkets or healthcare or education, affordable accommodation for staff to make
business community,
a career and raise a family, all of these things.
Full season operation, it all comes in together. It's not ski business. It's not about ski anymore. It's about
no, definitely not.
Definitely
it's about
beyond the
regional.
ski.
Yeah,
it's community development.
Yeah, community development, regional economy. Mark.
Yeah, I think you've got to put all those pieces in place. But a community starts for me with the people, and what I'm most excited about is seeing the next generation of young Chinese
Second
people.
generation.
Yeah, well, just get excited about the Winter Olympics. They're going to see Eileen Gu hopefully win, one or more gold medals just in a few weeks' time. That's going to be
inspiring,
incredibly inspiring. And you look at all Olympians across any sport, they all have a story about when they first watched the Olympics and they had an idol and that's why they got into the sport. So we're going to see a huge new wave of people, and not just on skis. Another cross-country skiing. There's a Chinese athlete called Chen Zheng, and he's in his early 20s. He's from Yunnan province in the south of China, so almost tropical in some ways. And he didn't see snow until 2019, and he's going to be competing for China in cross-country skiing at the Olympics. Now, he's not going to win a medal, but the strides that he's made over the last 2 to 3 years have been incredible, according to the coaches who've been working with him every day. So, maybe 4 years, 8 years from now, he'll be right up there. But if not him, then who's that next wave coming through? So I think that's where I get excited. I'm sort of a sports fan and passionate about all the different sports. But I think that will create. That's what's creating the need for all the infrastructure, and that's what's going to make these business models hopefully go into the black at some point down the road.
Yeah. So William, Eileen Gu would be already getting too expensive for a Bocanet to sign.
I know. I think Eileen Gu became a kind of the symbol and of ski, and also she starts to wear the Louis Vuitton and get on the
already too expensive.
The fashion magazine. I think that's a kind of the idol for the young generation, and also I think it's good for the industry, and also it's a kind of the good influence for the ski, and also it's also a kind of the lifestyle, fashion plus ski. I think it's pretty similar as what Bocanet is going to offer to our consumer.
So are you here also for the long term? You're betting for the future, because in the short term you may struggle a bit with the pandemic, with the brand recognition. Well, it will grow, but it's a process. You
Yes.
prepared for that?
Yeah, definitely we prepare for that. It's as I said, it's 25 years cooperation between Bogna and Boston in China. Definitely, we are not aiming to for 3 years, but we definitely for a long term. It's a 90 years brand, but it's new for Chinese consumer. But also, I think we are right on time. It's on the starting point of the changing lifestyle of young generation. As you said, it's probably most of consumer they can stay in the Taiwu and the Chongli and somewhere else to work remotely. I think it's a kind of starting, and also and more consumer they can have more relaxed time than their father, because then they will find how do I spend my time to my favorite sports or the lifestyle. That's I think it's what we are going to offer to them together with the skill result, together with the other service provider. I think that's what we are going to do for next decades. Yeah.
Great. Talking about time, let's imagine the future. One last question too for this discussion forum session. In your imagination, in your foreseeable future, how many times do you think China will achieve this equilibrium where the profit from operating would break even, the industry will be sustainable? What would be China being like maybe in 10, 20, how many years, I don't know, that would reach this mature market like, I don't know, I mean Japan maybe? I mean Japan is a bad example maybe, or West Europe or North America, with these countries rich in ski culture and also rich in these natural weather pattern with a very mature, stabilized ski lifestyle. What's your imagination of China's foreseeable future's ski and lifestyle?
I think over the next 5 years, this is where the proof will be in the pudding, let's say. I think after the Olympic Games, there needs to be some consolidation of our industry. We have,
consolidation?
well, we have, let's just say, just for ski
Merger and
resorts.
acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So early?
I think
already?
so. Well, if you look at it, I would say many of the resorts that are around right now, maybe 10, 15 years old now. Okay, not all of them, there's a lot of new ones, but these resorts are going to require reinvestment.
Yeah.
And perhaps the current owners don't have the desire that they had 10 years ago. Maybe they're getting older, they're not interested as much as they were, they don't want to put more money into it. And the market is going to get more competitive, it needs to be. It's going to get competitive on pricing, it's going to get competitive on offering and services. But the macro issue with that in our industry is that we have to understand that our customer base has choices. So it's not just a matter of do they have time and money, but where do they spend their time and money? They could choose to go to the beach, to the movies, to Universal Studios. They maybe later they can.
Ski lifestyle has to compete with other lifestyle.
Exactly. You know, they've got choices on how they spend their time and their money. So the industry as a whole needs to continue to raise its game.
It also has to compete with metaverse, right? Those digital entertainments.
Absolutely.
You know, with young people spending hours at home, you know, with their phones.
Yeah,
That's a big competition.
I think China is also for past 5 to 6 years, it has experienced a big innovation of the digital transformation. So it's the acquire new consumer is more different and difficult than before.
Are you saying that besides offline shops, you're also looking at digital marketing?
No, digital marketing and also the how consumer, you have to catch the eyeball of the consumer. Also it's for the ski result. If you don't know how to draw the attention of your consumer, you will lose your frontier. So, and also that's to require the very different competence of each company for the ski result, for the service provider, and also for the company like us. So, and also I agree Justin's point of view. It will have some consolidation, and also it will have some scalable company in the market. Then they can leverage a kind of their infrastructure and also their capability for the new business or the new result or the whatever. So it's a kind of scalable competition in the market.
Okay. Yeah. What about Taiwan? I mean,
Yeah.
5-10 years? What would Taiwan look like?
Yeah, firstly, I have to say I generally agree with Justin Dang. Maybe it's looks like he's really foreseeable on these things, but I think consolidation is things. I think it would happen in 3 or 5 years' time, starting after the games. But I'm still very confident on the whole industry here, and as I said, we're just getting started. So because not only Taiwan Ski Resort, but the whole Chongli region, because of the preparations and operations of the Olympic Games, we will be accumulating a lot of experience for all these staff, And for Taiwan, we have already held 4 times of, the FIS World Cup moguls. And in the future, I think maybe we will not hold another Olympic Games maybe in 5 or 10 years, but definitely we can do a lot of other things like championships and World Cups, a lot of, smaller scale international events. And also, I think we have to look at a new picture. As Justin just mentioned, that we have to, if we are trying to build a one-stop or destination resort, a community, we have to think about other factors. We need supermarket, we need hospitals.
I already see, Taiwan raising business forums with the Chongli Forum on the top of the mountain.
Yes.
We see you have a small theater, right?
Yes.
You put on
Cinema,
music,
theater, yes.
yeah, music shows, movies, and events. So lots of lifestyles events going on. That has nothing to do with skiing. It's quite interesting. From my personal experience, I talked to Sunak and Van Ke. They're also big investors in this industry. They're already acquiring or helping the management of ski resorts, right? They own some ski resorts and they acquire some ski resorts, and they took over the management team of some ski resorts. Justin must be very aware of that. So there are some big players already taking some steps now, and maybe more steps will be observed in the future. Mark, what's your observation that China's sports industry will get, the wider industry will get in 5-10 years' time?
I mean, I obviously have less of a stake in the winter sports industry compared with these gentlemen. I'd like to see, more people skiing, more people skating, more people surfing and playing soccer, and we are seeing that. And so things are definitely moving in the right direction. I think it started with a government-led push from that drive to develop the sports industry. That brought a lot of the investment in because people from outside the industry thought, this is the new hot sector. So sometimes that was good, sometimes that was bad, but overall I think that's been a positive. But what I think... What
if some industries cannot turn profitable in the short run?
Well, to Justin's point, we're going to see consolidation. We saw that in sports broadcasting. After that first initial policy came out, we saw all the streaming platforms put in huge sums for sports rights, for sports broadcasting, and then some of them quickly went out of business, and we're still seeing some struggles there and some consolidation and some pain as people figure out the way forward. But what I've been pleased to see is that we've seen, starting from that government-driven policy, we've seen more of a natural organic growth as China's huge middle class. They recognize the value of sports more generally. Academics, of course, will always be important to Chinese families, but they realize that a more holistic, well-rounded education includes sports, whether that's skiing or skating or soccer or surfing or whatever. So that is something that I'm hopeful about for the future, and I think that will continue. There's going to be it's never a direct line. It's never exactly smooth. There's always bumps in the road. But as long as we're kind of moving in the right direction and making progress, I think that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you so much. My director just signaled to me that it's about time for me to wrap up, and. As far as I know, some of our guests have prepared some gifts for our audience. William, I'll let you introduce your guest to our audience, because we will pick, our editors and directors will pick some of our audience from the comments, if you can comment, on our social websites, including CGTN's Weibo account. We're going live there. Put on comments on Twitter, on CGTN, Facebook, and also YouTube channel. We have millions of followers there. And William will tell us what kind of presents you've prepared for our audience.
Okay, we prepared 10 sets of Borgna 90 years anniversary calendar for 2022 with the nice box, and also the Chinese traditional red envelope. Okay, for
the New Year.
Chinese New Year.
Does it have cash
Yeah,
in
well,
it?
what's inside? Yeah, that's
Cash in it?
Okay. No. Okay.
No cash.
No cash. But of course, it's nice design. Okay.
Okay.
Then you can also give your while you have the ski. Okay, in the ski resort with your friends. Okay, you can send it to the childrens, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the ski
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
I have prepared 3 copies of my book. It's in Chinese, Ski in China. It's published in 2016 and republished in 2017. It's a bit outdated because China's ski industry grows so much progress has been made. But anyway, if you want my book and the gift from Borgner, please comment on our social website on CGTN, and my editors will pick up several of our lucky audience. Jackie, you've prepared something for our audience from Taiwan?
Yes, indeed. This is the gold medal. I'm just kidding. Not for the Olympic Games.
Key
of
rings,
course.
right?
The green medal.
Key rings. I mean, small key rings with a Taiwan logo on it. It's really beautiful design, actually.
Yeah, the mountain. Okay, I can
Yeah.
recognize the slopes. They are really the real slopes, right?
Yes.
real
That's
slopes.
that's the general overview of our slopes.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
looked like the
on
map.
it.
Yeah. Great. And that donkey too, right?
Yeah, the small donkey. That's our lovely mascot.
You have a mascot.
Yeah, we have one.
Is there a story behind why a donkey?
Yeah, the story could be long, but it's really something related with the legends.
The queen sending her son.
Yes.
The legend says the queen's son
Donkey-headed son.
Yeah.
Something like that.
has donkey ears.
Yeah.
So she was afraid that the son could be, having some trouble. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
sent the son secretly to a village next to where Taiwan is. That's
That
exactly.
prince, that
Yeah.
son of the queen, stayed in a village, Taizong village.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
village.
how it
That
is.
later on we discovered there were ruins of old facilities there.
And that's why it's called Prince Village.
Yeah.
Prince village.
And that's where the railway is called, the Prince Village Stop, right? Taichung Stop.
Yeah.
So we can see that we've already built up lots of content and culture in this industry, a part of the development of the culture. Okay, to wrap up a little bit, I'm Zheng Junfeng, hosting a very special session of Biz Talk on CGTN's China Global Television Network. Thank you for your watching. Today we discussed a lot of topics around the economics of the Olympics. So it seems that the Olympics is not just about sports, getting hundreds and thousands of athletes competing on the slow and rinks. It's also about an upgrade of China's related industry, the ski industry, the ski resorts industry, the ski equipment and apparel industry, and lots of lifestyle changing wider sports industry. It's all about this slogan of 300 people getting involved in ice and snow, and it's all about lifting the happiness, the wellness of Chinese people, and also creating a huge market for international suppliers, because this ski idea is, I have to say, the modern ski idea is generally invented overseas and imported to China. But never mind, China is using this lifestyle to upgrade Chinese people's livelihood, wellness, and happiness. So let's look forward to the grand opening on February the 4th in the Bird Nest in Beijing, and have a splendid holiday and splendid time watching and celebrating. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Great.